Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 297, the podcast where we explore the inanity.
Hey, nani.
I am your host, vysethebold, and this is
Pop culture? What happened this week in our lives? Lotus Prince.
Pyro Jack Frost. I mean,
Almost.
This is Lotus Prince, for those who don't know, that aren't paying attention. But, yeah, we have another wonderful show here that will surely go as well as the intro.
I told you not to call me that.
What, the intro, or?
Surely. It's the oldest joke in the book.
I will, and don't call me Shirley.
I will.
But anyway, we wanted to do another one of our retrospectives on a video game series, especially with a new prominent game coming out in God of War Ragnarok. I wanted to get an opportunity to talk about the God of War franchise. Obviously, Lotus has had a lot of experience with this franchise. I know a lot of it on the periphery, but I kind of just wanted to get kind of an ebb and flow of things from start to finish on this series. But do you know who the creator of this series is, Lotus Prince?
I do, but I forgot his name. I think he's recently made a name for himself by being the guy on Twitter who complained about how you can't find anything in Metroid Dread.
So his name is David Jaffe.
There we go. Yes, I did know that, but I forgot the name.
He is most famous, other than for creating God of War, by creating the Twisted Metal franchise from back in the 90s.
And the vibes of both of those games line up pretty well.
Yeah. They're kind of extreme, big violent
2000s energy.
Yeah, exactly. A very Image Comics.
That's a good point. It's like if Image Comics were made in the 2000s instead.
Well, I mean, like Twisted Metal was, of course, made in 95 or 96.
Oh, you're right. That. It was a PS1 title. I forgot.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, the original Twisted Metal. I'm talking about.
With the live action videos. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So this is it was like the Image. That's what made the PlayStation became known for. Before Final Fantasy VII, and all the JRPGs became prominent, the PlayStation was really known for its kind of teenager try hardness kind of thing for the time, but extreme attitude, a lot of X game kind of stuff going on there. I don't know if you remember Extreme into Extreme and all those kinds of games too. And
I wasn't into those, but remember when the XFL was a thing?
Oh yeah. That was just the mid to late 90s kind of stuff that was going on. And David Jaffe had been working with Sony for a long time. Apparently he had worked on the Sony games from the Super Nintendo Sega CD era. He worked on Cliffhanger and Skyblazer.
Oh God. Wow. Skyblazer is the SNES game, but freaking Cliffhanger.
Yeah, these are all Sony games from back then. Skyblazer's an actual good game. Cliffhanger is not.
Yeah, Cliffhanger is a movie license title for the Sega CD, so you can imagine how well that went over.
Skyblazer is actually a pretty darn cool game.
The cover for Cliffhanger is kind of funny too, because it's just... I mean, I don't know what I expected, but it's Sylvester Stallone hanging from a cliff. Yeah, what do you want?
But he also worked on Mickey Mania, which is notable for being a Disney game that wasn't that was cross-platform at the time. Most Mickey games were tied to a platform, Castle of Illusion was a Genesis game, that kind of thing. But he's known for these kind of darker creations. He really hasn't done much in recent memory. He like you said, he's known for shooting his mouth off, like for not being politically correct, for not towing the company line. He's kind of almost like a liability for Sony in a lot of ways, because like while he's created like a lot of successful stuff, he says stuff like publicly that he shouldn't. A lot
Puts
of
his foot in
times,
his mouth. Yeah.
yeah, he puts his foot in his mouth, and not only that, but he like seems like he's intoxicated a lot of those times.
I mean, I could believe it. I mean,
Yeah,
Nintendo themselves threw shade at him after the Metroid Dread thing. Do you remember that?
no, I don't know.
It's not obvious. Like, if you happened to know what had happened just a couple days earlier, then you knew. But they released like a little like helpful tips video about Metroid Dread, and they're like, and the walls are like weak over here, and you could tell that you could blow them up. And like it's like a perfectly normal video, except that it was uploaded like pretty shortly after David Jaffe made his comment. So like it seemed like it was like some shade
directed right at him. Yeah, it's just one of those things. The last game that he made was called Drawn to Death, which was like very critically maligned. In fact, you can't even play it anymore because like the servers are shut down. Which was a game that like was inspired by try hard goth kid drawings from notebook kind of stuff.
That actually sounds pretty cool. Like that. I mean, that's still a thing. Like you got like the goth aesthetic.
Yeah, but it's like an aesthetic, but like the game itself wasn't that great.
Okay.
And he also made like a simplistic back at the time when it came out, like people were disappointed with it because like everybody was expecting a David Jaffe game, like a big successful thing, and
yeah,
it came out with like
but it's really fun.
A small game called Calling All Cars, which was pretty fun, but it was a small downloadable title back on PS3, but we should get into the God of War franchise, which is at this point his legacy, because like Twisted Metal, as important as it was to Sony's success early on, it is a dead franchise.
They tried reviving it for a second in the PS3 360 era, and then I don't think it sold terribly well, even though the people who played it, like, I think they liked it, but like, what was the problem? There were like too few characters or something, that they focused more on the characters they did have.
I just think it's a dead kind of genre. It's not like
the crazy just like arena car battler.
Yeah, I think people are more into kind of the sport of things now, like like Rocket League and stuff like that.
Well,
people are more
you never
into
know
sport,
though. Like, give it another 10
things.
years. I don't even know if you need to give it 10 years. I mean, people are starting to make... I know Bloodborne PSX is like an obvious thing, but people in general are starting to make PSX-style indie games. We've got a lot of NES and SNES-style indie games, but we're getting into PSX stuff now. I could... Like, how the adventure games genre just died for like 10, 15 years, but
sure,
it's come back in its own way. The car battler could come back. Give it a couple years. Someone's gonna be like, you know what? I loved Twisted Metal when I was a kid. It's gonna come back.
I think what they need to do is they need to combine it with modern sensibilities.
Yeah.
As it is right now, like it's like a slower form of playing like Quake 3 when you think about it, because you have an arena, but like you don't move as quickly, which is oddly.
Yeah, I was going to say the game where you're
enough.
in fast-moving cars is slower than Quake 3, but it is true.
It is. Yeah, because you're very nimble in Quake 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you play, like, because a lot of these Twisted Metal or, like, just car games, the levels need to be big so you don't immediately get to the other side. Whereas in stuff like Quake or Counter-Strike, they don't want the levels to be absolutely massive, because then there's no fighting. Like, with cars, it works because you're driving fast, but, like, if you actually go back and watch Counter-Strike or something, man, you guys are fast.
What they need to do is they need to combine it with kind of the structure of maybe Rocket League, maybe make it a capture the flag kind of game, instead of an elimination game where you eliminate everybody in the arena.
Yeah, maybe you could just have incidental eliminations, like in Mario Kart when you fall off the edge, but you get brought back or something.
Yeah, exactly. You need to do something to make it more tense.
Yeah, because when it's down to just two cars, it's just like, ugh, all right, and you're just rolling
Yeah, I mean,
circles around each other.
it was fun back then, because like a big part of those games, like if you play Twisted Metal 1, part of what made that fun was that there were secret areas to explore in the 3D areas, and like 3D was a novelty back then. Like it was still in its like birth,
Yeah, it's infancy.
its infancy. Yeah, exactly. So like going into like being able to destroy a section of wall and find like a whole nother part of an arena,
Yeah, that
was
was pretty crazy.
like a really cool thing, and people would try to do that rather than like do the actual fighting and things like that. So it's understandable that and it was 2 player, and like it was never like an like the online aspect of it never came until Twisted Metal Black, which is quite a ways in. So
Yeah.
I think as an online game with some different game modes, I think Twisted Metal could be a thing, but
Sure, sure.
it especially with the iconic characters like Sweet Tooth and like Axel, those are pretty
Axel
cool
is
characters.
hysterical.
Yeah,
He's just like a dude
he is an Axel.
between two wheels. It's like the stupidest thing ever.
he is an Axel.
It's
But
absurd.
but this is about God of War, so we got to go to this. So this came out in the PS2 era, which was the heyday of the 3D character action titles. Really,
Yeah, this
kind
is
of
effectively a hack and slash.
yeah. It was this genre was really pioneered by I would say Devil May Cry and
Yeah, that makes sense.
the Xbox Ninja Gaiden. Those games were kind of like the hardcore 3D character action titles. They were the first 3D action titles to really get the formula right. Before that, there were plenty of games on PS1 and things like that, but they never really had the flow of things. They didn't have the skill involved.
I know you're not talking smack about the Rising Zan.
Well, I was thinking of games like that. I was thinking of games like Rising Zan and like other like attempts at
Fighting Force.
yeah, just like Fighting Force. Yeah, things that just didn't quite work. You had like Tomb Raider was more of an exploratory platformer with occasional action action killing segments. But there was never like a really good hand to hand
Sure.
character action title before.
Yeah, Tomb Raider was all about the
in
guns.
3D. Until Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, which were very similar in their ways, and
although
like Ninja...
I will say what was different about those games compared to God of War is they were room based.
Yeah.
God of War,
small arenas.
God of War had doors, but it didn't feel like you didn't load screen your way from one room to another.
Now there was another game that I think kind of was a little similar to God of War, but wasn't quite as good. Right,
Okay.
Kind of right before it. But I don't know if you ever played the PS2 version of Rygar. But
I've seen it played a little bit, and it's very funny to me that game exists.
Yeah.
Do you remember NES Rygar? No, not really. Well, get ready.
But another Tecmo game. Ninja Gaiden.
I never
was Tecmo.
thought about it, but like I do see something of a resemblance.
Yeah, it kind of had a similar kind of gameplay style. Let's put it that way. But God of War really added a lot to it because it had some very, very tight action, mixed with, of course, the like rated R barbarian shit that that you would want from like a Conan the Barbarian kind of thing. Lots of sex and violence.
And you still have your weird ass NES Rygar what do you call it? Spike yo-yo thing?
A disc blade. Yeah, it's called like the disc armor, I think.
Fine.
Yeah. I think it's called the disc armor. But yeah, but God of War was all of that, but like with tighter gameplay, tighter arenas. Kind of had the same kind of upgrading like structure as Devil May Cry. You know, collecting orbs.
Yeah, that is a good point. But yeah, learn techniques. I think you boosted your health. It's been a long time since I played these.
Sure. But but what was shocking about it was just like the level of violence. It was the games were like very visceral in terms of
and they only got more so as you kept going. By the time we got the HD era, oh boy.
So the character was known for just like basically like ripping heads off, not even just like decapitation, like the harpies in particular were like pretty shocking at the time, like him like ripping off like wings.
He didn't play.
Yeah,
he's a very angry man, and you eventually learn why that is.
And I mean, he's angry for a good reason.
He's got a pretty good reason.
Yeah, but like. It's funny going back to them because sex mini games and shit
I forgot about God of War Ascension. It might have been, but I want to say every single game, except obviously for the PS4 game.
Well, the PS4 game, you don't get that from his character. Like
he's very different. He's very much sober in the PS4 game because he's made something of a new life.
Yeah, you kind of got a sense that he was he was self-destructive. He was like on a self-destructive like rage cycle in the first three games. The first three major titles.
6 games.
Well, yeah. So like, it's kind of funny because like when you're playing these, like you're wondering how the next one ups it, and it kept happening.
Boy, does it ever. Yeah, I mean Ascension is a prequel, so even though it had really cool set pieces, there is literally no way to one-up what happened in 3.
3 is kind of like in
4.
The
in God of War 4, there's a new universe, so you could do different things, but you're not escalating past 3.
Yeah, 3 just has it's just the pinnacle of that type of game. Because
you know what it's also the pinnacle of?
What's that?
The sex minigames.
Is it the most elaborate of the bunch?
It's not the most elaborate, but you have sex with Aphrodite herself.
Oh wow! you can't top that. the god of love herself.
Cannot.
Yeah. You like can only imagine what that's like. But
although my personal favorite one though is like they always have like an innuendo way of indicating the sex because they don't show it. They're not going to go into the graphic detail, but they'll have like as you're more successful like a small object like a vase on the nightstand is bumping closer and closer to the edge until it falls off. My favorite one by far though is I forgot what it was called, the second PSP game, not Chains of Olympus, where you're in like a brothel, and as you're doing better and better, like more girls on the outside of the building are looking into are passing by the building. They're like, and more of them run in. It's a riot.
That's pretty funny. What, Ghosts of Sparta?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah. So, would you talk a little bit about like the goal of each one? Like, what is he trying to accomplish in the first game?
The first game, God of War. I mean, you are famously the God of War, but not in the first game, actually. The first game is interesting. The whole game is a revenge mission, but why? And you eventually learn this. Because what's distinctive about Sparta, what's distinctive about Kratos, including in the latest game, is that his skin is the color white. And that's not actually his skin color. He really is a normal human, but he is permanently like that. It's actually kind of like try hard edgy for the reason why. I don't know if they needed to go that far, even though it gives him a cool look. But basically what happened is he was in some battle somewhere, whatever, right? He was a very, very good soldier, and he was in a battle, and he's fighting against some barbarian leader with a great hammer, like a huge hammer. And Kratos, I forgot if he either gets disarmed or taken by surprise or whatever, but he is definitely going to die. Like, the guy has the one-up on him, and he's, like, raising the hammer for the killing blow. And in that moment, Kratos calls out to Ares, the god of war, and he says, "Get me out of this, and my life is yours." And then they do, like, a time freeze thing where Kratos gets his famous weapons. Because he has blades that, like, I don't know if they exist in real life, but they're blades attached to chains, and the chains are wrapped around his arms. So he kind of,
I think
like,
they would be very impractical in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're whipped around. But Ares gave them to him specifically because they were distinctive. Like, you'll become known for these, and you'll be known as my guy, so that'll be good for both of us. And in fact, they actually get branded, or not branded, but burned onto Kratos' arms. They are there to stay. That's why when you see God of War PS4, he, like, strangely doesn't have those weapons in the beginning of the game.
Oh, wow.
And his wrists are all bandaged, because it's like, you don't want your kid going, "Why the fuck do you have chains branded on your wrists at all times?" Like, yeah, I don't talk about that. So he's got those weapons. So, and then time unfreezes, and the barbarian's, like, in mid-swing, and he's like, what the fuck? Because Kratos just has these weapons now, and Kratos just decapitates him immediately. Like, it's just like, boom, got him. I'm out of it. Nice. And Kratos is like, yes. So Ares is like, dude, do all this fighting for me. And Kratos is like, hell yeah, I will. So things are actually going great. But eventually, he's going after one particular temple with a bunch of people in it, and he goes into, like, a bloodlust mode and just kills everyone inside. And when his lust fades, he realizes he killed his wife and kid. And Ares is like, fucking awesome. Now you're no longer tied to family. Now you can be the perfect soldier. Like, this is great for you. And Kratos is like, oh, I did not ask for this. So from that point on, Kratos is on a revenge mission to kill Ares. That's the point of the first game. And by the way,
so the God of War refers to Ares. Yeah.
Yeah. And the try hard edgy part is that the ashes of Kratos' family are, like, on his skin. I think Ares might have been responsible for that because he has this distinctive look. That's why he's called the Ghost of Sparta, because he's pure white, but also he literally has dead people on him.
Yeah, we must also, like, reiterate that, like, Sparta was, like, really big around this time. There's, like, the 300 kind of thing going on.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you know what I really appreciate? I really like this. I don't think you ever see Kratos' home, but in God of War PS4, you live with your kid, and you know what I really like about it? Even though you're in Norse land, your home is very Spartan. There's, like, a table and a bed.
Yeah.
Because in Assassin's Creed, I think it was Odyssey, the homes are, like, elaborate. And the devs were like, I know that's literally the opposite of what Spartan is, but we were afraid people would complain about it if we did it accurately.
Well, I think that goes along with also where the character is at this point in his life. He just kind of wants to live and do his thing.
That is true. That makes sense in context, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he would have done things anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's where my wife can do things. Here's where I can do things. That's my house.
Yeah. I go and hunt and I feed my family, and that's it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, Kratos eventually kills Ares. And what's interesting, I actually really liked this. This was a thing that was from, like, the movie Clash of the Titans, and I think might have been found in actual mythology as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes the gods would communicate to him through their own statues. All of a sudden the statues would start talking.
Yeah.
And then they would go back to being statues. Like, that's awesome. So all the gods are actually in on this. They were like, yeah, Ares fucked up. We know. And so they're all helping. I kind of like
the whole political thing where the gods were absolutely like this in mythology
to each other and to the humans. Yeah.
Yeah, they were always sniping at each other and trying to undermine each other and jealous of each other and all. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Like all of the power-ups you get in the games are for different reasons. But in the first game, the gods themselves are directly assisting you. Like, Zeus is like, take my lightning. You could throw lightning. Like, it's stuff like that. So what's really funny is that you'd think Zeus would be mad that you killed his kid. Athena would be mad that you killed her brother. Nope.
Yeah. Well, they all the gods are related, so like it's not like
That's true too. Yeah.
it's not like and they're always like fighting each other. So it's like their greatest enemies are their kin.
Oh,
So
by the way, one thing I will point about these games that I forgot to mention that sets them aside from Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry. I don't even know if you've experienced this, Vice. Have you played any of these games?
I played the a bit of the first one, maybe about halfway through.
So you might have seen this. The sweeping vistas. Every so often, they'll like when you're on the giant horse's chariot that like power the pilot the sun or whatever, like the Helios chariot, I think it is. You're running. I might be wrong about this, but it's giant horses with giant chains. You're running along the chain links to this temple way off in the distance, and the camera just zooms out, and you can just see the scale of what you're doing. The games love doing that, and it looks good every time. And speaking of presentation, by the way, when you start the game for the very first time, there's like a close-up of Kratos' face on the menu, but when you press start, the camera pulls out, and like it doesn't go press start loading. Like the camera pulls out, Kratos was actually just standing there, and it's smoothly integrated,
like in engine,
which was like that. Like I don't know if I don't think the game was I don't know if it was the first to do that, but that was very novel.
Yeah, we have to mention the fact that the presentation of this game was so high budget for the time. Like this is like the second game trumps it for sure, but
they keep doing it, but like they really put it like put all blah, blah. I was gonna say push it to the limit, pull out all the stops. I'm doing both.
Yeah, this is both God of War games on the PS2, along with Shadow of the Colossus and probably Final Fantasy 12, are really the games that push the PS2 to its limits.
Final Fantasy 12 had 1080. That game was nuts.
Yeah, very unusual. I think even Valkyrie Profile 2 has some stuff
1080.
to it that are very overlooked. But anyway, and also Gran Turismo, the Gran Turismo game for PS2 is
also 1080.
Those
games always look particularly gorgeous, even among their contemporaries.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be ignored that for the time nothing looked like this. Just the graphics. There's not a whole lot of graphical stuttering to it. It ran really well.
No, the closest comparison I can make is maybe Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. You get some zoom outs as you're doing your climbing thing, but God of War really loved pushing. Would you just look at this?
This was the full AAA wonderful experience for the time that made it a mainstream hit rather than Devil May Cry was a hardcore hit, I would say, and same thing with Ninja Gaiden, but this was a hit on another level due to not only just its themes and its tight gameplay and all that stuff, but the presentation and the story were just a lot of fun for the time.
Speaking of the presentation being a lot of fun, as far as gameplay is concerned, some players might have complained about this because you're technically in the same dungeon for the entire second half or last third or something of the game. But talk about scale. Zeus's father, Kronos, the Titan, is still alive, of course. But they punished him because that famous painting, Saturn devouring his children.
To eat him. He tried to eat Zeus.
Yeah, Zeus was going to be eaten. So Zeus and his brothers overthrew their father and became the gods. But
that was Picasso, I believe, right?
No, well, there were two different painters, and I'm sorry I forgot one of them, but the one I remember is Goya.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe it was Picasso though.
Oh, okay. I know it's terrifying.
It's pretty. Well, what really helps is the jet black background. They're just in a void, and Saturn has the crazy eyes when he looks at you. He looks like he's just insane.
Yeah, Saturn and Kronos are the same thing, by the way.
Yes, the painting is called Saturn devouring his children, but yes, Kronos is the same guy. But in the game, Kronos had an entire temple that he was forced to carry. It's like Atlas carrying the Earth. They put a whole temple on his back, and he's just aimlessly wandering the desert forever. So you eventually get into that temple, and for the entire rest of the game, you're playing in this one giant dungeon. But every once in a while, you might remind yourself, like, I'm being carried on Kronos' back right now. Like, that shows how big he is and how big this temple is.
Yeah.
But moving on to God of... Because I don't want to spend all day talking about these games.
We do have to...
God of War 2... Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. God of War is also notable by opening with giant set pieces. In God of War 1, you fight the Hydra, and that fight...
Every single one. Every single game...
Yes.
Has this, like, big opening moment.
Even PS4, it's not a giant monster or anything, but it's an important fight. But yeah, Giant Hydra, that game looked gorgeous when it first came out. It still looks pretty good now, and it was remastered on PS3. It looks great. Mm-hmm. But God of War 2, do you know what the opening fight is?
I don't know that one.
The Colossus of Rhodes.
Oh, wow.
And what's really, really cool about that one is that the Colossus of Rhodes was, a statue. That fight exists both inside and out of it. He tries taking a swing at you, you run into him, and you're going up and down like the scaffolding that people used to make him. It's so good.
That's neat.
It's great. But when you beat him, I'm sorry, I don't remember why, but Zeus totally fucks you over and takes your powers away and just like throws you somewhere. You get really screwed. It's like the beginning of Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. You get fucked over real hard. So you're like, I want to fight Zeus. So you.
You know what I remember? Not to interrupt, but one of the cool things that I remember is the Clash of the Titans thing where you actually do go around with Medusa's head.
Yes.
As a weapon.
Because you fight and kill Medusa in the first game, and you know what's really cool? In the second game, you fight and kill Uriel. So you get the because in Metroid you always get your powers back.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to get Medusa's head back? You don't.
A different Gorgon.
yeah. It's still good. And in game 3 you get Zentho. Like, that's brilliant. Like, are you kidding me? They actually had a way for you to use Medusa's head in all 3 games without it being Medusa's head. It was the 3 Gorgons head. Like, that's amazing. It's so good. Like, that really worked. But yeah, so the rest of the game is spent with you trying to get revenge on Zeus, and some of the gods are helping you, and it's been a while, but I think you might enlist the aid of some Titans as well, because, who hates
the
Zeus?
The Titans would want to fight,
Zeus more than the Titans.
The Olympians,
So the final fight in that game is Zeus. You don't kill him, but you are stopped before you get the chance, and then something happens where in God of War 3, fuck the whole pantheon. Fuck all of them. And you know how you know God of War 3 is going to be epic? The opening fight, the big bombastic opening fight, the first fight of the game. Fucking Poseidon. That's the first fight.
One of the big bads, right? One of the big guys, yeah.
Zeus's brother, man.
Yeah,
and you eventually fight Hades. And the Hades fight is uncomfortable, by the way, because Hades is he knows who you killed. He's the guy who dead. So, like, the fight starts with one of those things where you can't interact with him, where he slowly walks in from the background, and he's like, so, let me just make sure I have this right. You killed, my brother? You killed my wife? You killed, like, somebody else? And you're like, oh, shit. he's pretty fucking mad. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Oh, by the way, what's really cute about God of War 3 in particular is you fight 2 and 3, I think. You also fight some human mythological figures, like Theseus and Perseus. Yeah. I actually felt bad about Perseus. He seemed like a fun guy. What was really cute, and this is before the guy got, like, fucking canceled, but you fight Hercules in I guess Heracles in God of War 3, but he's voiced by Kevin Sorbo. That's amazing. Because it's funny because Kevin Sorbo in Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, the TV show, was like
a happy-go-lucky kind of character.
Simple, pleasant guy with a heart of gold who like has a lot of comic relief moments. Like he pats someone on the back and they fall over. Oops, didn't realize my own strength. Ha ha ha. But like God of War 3 Hercules is a douchebag, so it's just kind of funny to hear Kevin Sorbo give that performance for Hercules. He's just kind of a dick. It's pretty great.
just like real life. But
yeah. And this was before that came out, but it was pretty entertaining. Also, fucking Malcolm McDowell was Daedalus.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
You don't fight him. Like, you're like, you better tell me how to get through the maze. By the way, the labyrinth in God of War 3 is fucking nuts. It's not like what you would picture, where if you have a string, you go through it. It's like this 3D, like, it's like the movie Cube.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's like this puzzle 3D thing. You're like, oh, no wonder no one can figure this shit out.
One thing that I also want to mention is there's also the spin-off PSP games that happen right before the
actually
third game.
I should mention this. Those weren't even really spin-offs. When Hades addresses that you killed his wife, that's, I believe, Ghost of Sparta. Like, the PSP games are canon. Well, I mean, they're all canon, but like they're all tied in. Like, God of War 3 is the ultimate culmination of the first, not 2 games, but 4.
Yeah, so the PSP games, as kind of forgotten as the PSP library is, the PSP God of War games were nearly the same quality as the PS2 games.
They, like, I mean, I played them on PS3 because they got ported, but our friend Luminaire back in college lent me, like, I mean, I didn't play through the whole game, but he let me play Chain of Memories for a few minutes, and the whole thing with those games is like you
Chains of Olympus, like, not Chain of Memories. Chain of Memories was a Kingdom Hearts game.
Oh, did I say Chains of Memory? Oh, excuse me. Not quite the same game. But the whole thing with those games is they make very liberal use of the sticks. And you're like, does this even work on PSP? The PSP has like a thumb pad for the right stick. It works better than you think. Like, the game feels, I mean, if you put it side to side with the PS2 game, you can tell the difference, but it looks pretty good and it plays pretty well.
So I remember the other game that I prominently played of this one is the first PSP game, the Chains of Olympus.
Yes.
I really love the intro fight versus the Hydra on the ship.
That's God of War 1.
Oh, is that God of War 1?
That's the very first God of War game. I'm sorry, I actually forgot the fights in the PSP games, the opening fights.
Oh, okay. I remember the opening fight was particularly
They always are. They're
impressive.
showstoppers. Like, get ready, motherfucker, this is God of War. Like, that's the whole vibe. You're very angry through all these games. You're always furious. And in the third game, by the way, you exclusively get help from the Titans, because all the gods want you dead. And the gods that you start taking out, like, when you kill Poseidon, like, you flood everything, you take out Helios, you fuck up, like, how the sun works, like, you ruin the world. So God of War PS4, I don't know how you made it to, like, Norse Godland. I mean, I know the easy answer is Norway. You made it to the country of Norway, but, like, I don't know how you moved, like, universes unless each country has its own pantheon or something. I don't know how the hell you got there, but, like, I certainly know why you got there.
What's kind of brilliant about what they're doing with this newer version is they open themselves up to basically do anything in that pantheon. Universe. Like, you can delve into any mythological system.
Speaking of which, by the way, there's an amazing moment in God of War PS4 where you're talking to someone and she goes, because like you're planning on going to, oh god, please pardon me if I get the wrong name. I want to say Niflheim, but it's the realm of the dead.
Sure,
I might have the wrong Heim. I'm sorry, but
the wrong Heim.
Yeah, but like this one woman goes, "Have you ever been to the land of the dead?" And Kratos is like, "Not this one." It's like, that's amazing.
I kind of prefer if they don't explain, like, there's just different realms. Like, that's
yeah.
it.
He made it somehow to Norse mythology land. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you really fuck things up probably beyond repair in God of War 3. I don't know how you could possibly not even undo it. I don't know what you could do about anything. And then Ascension came out, which is a prequel, which, oh cool, another God of War, but I mean, like, I already know what happens to every named character in the entire
that's
series,
always,
so...
always the problem with
they have to introduce a new character I've never heard of, and they're probably going to die because you need to have some named character dies. All right.
That's the problem with prequels, right? The stakes are lower. They always are.
Yeah, it only really works if they're in their own universe. Like, Yakuza 0 worked because, like, I mean, I never thought that Majima was going to die because he's in, like, 4 other games or 5 or whatever. But, like, just about everybody in the game is a new character. And I know I'm not seeing any of them again, but when there's this many characters, they're not all going to die, are they? So, like, I don't know what's going to happen. So that works better.
Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't always not work, but most of the time it doesn't.
It's tough to make it work.
Most of the time it doesn't.
Especially if it's a character with, like, a tragic end, like, well, I know what happens. Or a character with a happy end. Well, whatever happens here, I know he's going to get over it.
It only works if it's, like, revealing about a character's nature.
And the problem is, in God of War, you've already gone over, like, the entire pantheon, so, like, they can't find anyone who's really, really important.
Yeah.
So it's like, Also, another thing that really bugged me about Ascension was I've already mentioned that they love zooming out and showing you these epic vistas.
Mm-hmm.
Ascension tried doing that during battles, which is a clever idea. Look at all this shit that's happening and look at the bigger picture, but, like, it's hard for me to see my character now. Like, they zoom out pretty far. Like, there's this one fight where you're fighting guys on a giant creature, and they zoom out and show the giant creature, and it looks really cool, but I'm having difficulty playing the game now.
Yeah.
And they do that a few times, and it's like, I get it, but, alright.
It should be mentioned that the PS4 game is, like, kind of a reboot in a big way.
It's a reboot and a sequel. Like, it's effective.
Yeah, it not only is it, like, it's a kind of a complete change in the gameplay style, the structure of the titles.
You're very different. You don't even use the blades of, what are they called? Blades of Sparta?
Yeah, that sounds right.
But you don't even use those for, I mean, you have them around, but, like, you fight with an axe because you're done with this shit. I mean, I said it's a reboot and a sequel. Technically, it's just a sequel, but it feels enough like a reboot. Like, it's a new story. It's fine.
I mean, it was clearly designed for people to hop onto that one.
Yeah, you don't need to have played 2 console generations and really 3 consoles worth of games to get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty understandable that this character has a long history that he's trying to put behind him, and this is a new beginning for him.
And he's also trying to teach his kid, like, there are certain things you want to do and you don't want to do. What's really interesting, though, is that Kratos has the experience. He's like, trust me, don't make some of the same mistakes I did. But he also has a certain attitude, like, you're gonna help this guy, and he's not even gonna give you anything in return. Why the hell would you do that? And the kid's like, because it's nice. And Kratos is like, well, how the fuck are you gonna, like, get anything to survive? So, like, it's like this, like, this very cynical lesson that the kid eventually like follows but doesn't agree with. It's pretty, like, Kratos is, I mean, you probably saw this coming a mile away. Not the perfect father.
Yeah,
he's a very tough love. Like, it's not like he doesn't call abuse tough love. He actually does care about his kid, but, like, he's literally the god of war. He's pretty fucking intense.
Yeah, he probably still has a lot to learn. As well. Maybe he's learning from
Kratos
his kid.
does learn how to be more sober as the game progresses. Like, he does evolve as a character, but, like, I mean, he never, like, hits his kid or whatever, but he's very aggressive, and the kid's like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm hunting a deer. Like, fucking...
Yeah.
Get off my back.
Well, I should also point out that the original games were kind of about like managing the enemies in an arena and then boss fights.
You don't have terribly much, like, crowd situations, like, a little bit, but in God of War, the previous games, it was, like, insane, like, cover the ground with your enemy's blood.
Yeah, this is more like the open world kind of Assassin's Creed structure.
Enemies are around, and you will fight more than once, but it's not like a madhouse.
Yeah, it's very similar probably to the structure of that you know of maybe from Horizon Zero Dawn if you played that or
that makes sense. Like you go to areas where there's a bunch of enemies and there's little set piece moments which are pretty cool. What's also interesting is you just get to, like, talk to a bunch of big characters, you should see that this was a big enough deal. I actually put it on my channel. You should see the introduction of Jormungand. That is a fucking showstopper. He just shows up, and you're like, I don't know, like, you don't actually fight him, but like, there's no way you would. He's a titan. He's fucking huge.
So, our last little bit here. Are you excited for Ragnarok?
Quite. Speaking of which, by the way, I remember even around when God of War 3 was out, because I'm pretty sure I saw this in college. I forgot if we just heard this on internet news or if they even mentioned it on the Blu-ray like extras of the game. I forgot where I heard this, but they had mentioned they were considering Norse mythology, and I was like, how would they do that? And then like a decade later, the Mad Lads actually did it. I thought it was just an idea they were spitballing and cut down on the cutting room floor. Like, we're going to go through all sorts of pantheons. No, they're not, but like, here we are.
Well, I think Norse mythology particularly really lends itself to the themes because, like, of course,
every god is over the top.
Well, not only that, but like Norse culture was very centered around battle and things like that. So,
you know what I also like, by the way, is some civilians are aware that some of the gods are dicks. Like there's one, I think I mentioned this to you, Vice, in person before, but there's one lost soul you're trying to help. Like, it's ghosts with unfinished business, and this one guy's like, well, Thor really fucked over my family, and like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to ask you to fight Thor because like he doesn't know who you are. Like, I'm not a complete fucking moron, but could you at least like deface his statue, just like take a shot at him? That'd be kind of nice. That'll be good enough for me.
I'm sure that would get his attention though.
Well, I mean, like you're gonna deal with Thor at some point in Ragnarok. Like, you probably remember when people were posting screenshots of him and people were getting mad that he looked fat and not like 6-pack abs, but I mean,
we're talking probably about traditional.
Yeah, he looks like what strongmen look like.
Yeah.
Like 6-pack abs are like what bodybuilders and like runners look like. If you ever look at a strongman, they look like they have pudge, except it's just not pudge. That's what Thor looks like.
Yeah.
Like, don't fuck with this guy.
It's like the Kingpin. He's just,
Yeah, the Kingpin's a super exaggerated version of that. None of that is fat. I don't know how many people knew that. Like, in the traditional comic, like, fat guy, white suit depictions of Kingpin, like Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin, that's not fat.
He's just a bulky, very strong man.
Anybody who's watching One Piece, Kaido's subordinate, Queen, he's like a blob, except he's not. It's like, oh no,
pure muscle.
Yeah.
So I guess we should move on to fan stuff from here. We did a pretty good examination of most of the titles here and then touched on them. We'll of course give some we'll keep an eye out for Ragnarok when that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead. Let's move on.
Yeah, we have a comment and a question. Look at that. So, School Filmer, pretty much an Isaac update. Haven't gotten much to say this time other than the fact that I did everything as Isaac and Cain in Afterbirth Plus. Very impressive. And I also found out that the 5 win streak as 5 different characters achievement was changed to 3 in Repentance. Yes, some of those achievements really were some bullshit. So, good for you. Before I get Repentance, I should try taking out Mega Satan as every character. Even the Keeper. Yeah, Keeper was not fun. The only boss that you might actually feel confident with Keeper is Ultra Greed, because Keeper's health is coins.
Oh, I was gonna say, what's the...
Yeah, when Ultra Greed hits you, he makes you drop your coins. But, like, for the Keeper, that's a good thing. He just spawns health.
That's awesome.
For you. Oh yeah, and I got the Ace of Diamonds achievements done, taking out the land within 20 minutes. Yeah, that's getting to a final boss within 20 minutes. So that's, at that point, like, that's certainly doable, but you gotta, like, really be familiar with the game to pull that off.
Yeah.
Mom's Knife and Sacred Heart are the MVPs of that run. Yeah, Mom's Knife is... Oh, and Sacred... Oh, damn. That's very good. And now I watched Turning Red with my sister and her boyfriend. We enjoyed it a lot. I have to say, watching a movie with those you care for and making some color commentary during it is much better than watching a movie alone. Agreed. And yes, there was pizza. Kind of makes me wish I was more social back in my youth. Yeah,
there you go.
I know that feel. And then question. Living Corpse. What is one aspect of something that is often overlooked that you see as being arguably the most important aspect of said thing. I got interested in guns last year, and funny enough, I think ammunition is the most overlooked thing about firearms. Arguably, in my opinion, the most important thing, as guns would just be metal clubs without projectiles. Are laser guns cool because of the gun itself, or the laser? Would they be nearly as cool if they didn't fire lasers? There's some cool military projects that not only tried inventing new firearms, but also tried reinventing ammunition. I'll go into more detail on that on the next show's comments. That's an interesting point, actually.
Yeah.
Because, I do like the intricacies of guns, as machines. Like,
putting
back together, it looks really... Also...
I also like all the kind of accessories and all the different things you can do to modify them, but I don't like them
and
themselves.
games like Battlefields, the animations for reloading them, there's something very satisfying about watching how a gun is reloaded. In fact, I don't know if you've seen this guy. He's on TikTok and Twitter. Have you seen that, it's not a joke account, but, the idea is comical. Have you seen that guy that just reloads everyday objects as if they were guns?
No, but I can imagine that.
It's great. He's got one of those caulk guns, but he does it like a video game. He doesn't even do it like you would do it in real life, where he, whips the thing open, throws out the can, takes the new can, goes, puts it in, but, really exaggerates his movements, because that's how you would do it in, Battlefields, or,
that's awesome.
Just a water thermos. He just reaches to the lid and just whips his hand down and snaps the lid open completely unnecessarily, because that's just how you would have done it if you were in a video game. It's surprisingly satisfying to watch.
That's really funny.
For me, I don't know if I would say this is necessarily often overlooked. This is almost a cheat answer, but movies that have, or movies or TV shows or whatever that have really shitty protagonists that you follow them because they're protagonists. That's what the protagonist means. They're the ones whose perspective you follow. They don't have to be the good guys, but you're not supposed to like them. Have you ever seen that Facebook meme? That grew up in the 90s starter kit, and it's things from our childhood.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, there's people, if you're following, you're missing the fucking point starter kit. And it's Rick from Rick and Morty,
or
the
Scarface.
Joker. Yeah. They're cool and bombastic, but just because they have charisma doesn't mean that they're right. The Joker and Harley's relationship, relationship goals. It's no, he fucking abused her and threw out a window, dude. The whole point of that scene was to show that it's dysfunctional, and that Harley is being hooked into it because the Joker throws her a bone every so often. That's not a good
utterly
thing.
Dependent on him. Yeah.
And even the new movie with Joaquin Phoenix, I get it. He was shit on and he's mad about it. I get it. The other people are douchebags. They are. He's still the fucking Joker. He's not a good person.
Yeah. Not at all.
You're not supposed to get back at people by shooting them with a gun.
Yeah. Not at all. Not at all.
So I know this sounds duh, the Joker's a bad guy, but or the Punisher, there's a reason he's not part of the superhero
Avengers
group.
Yeah, he's not
he's
part
a
of the
fucking
Avengers.
murderer that they kind of look the other way to because it's bad guys, or Dexter. That guy's body count is fucking nuts. He's the most dangerous killer of all. It's just, thank God he's killing other killers. I guess I'll hand wave it, but you're not supposed to like him. You're supposed to understand him. You're not supposed to support him.
Yeah. I guess what I was gonna bring up is kind of a food thing. I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of the quality of bread on a sandwich.
As someone who likes rye bread, and as someone who has had a bagel not from my area, when I was at Otakon, I had the driest bagel ever made. It's one of those things where you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Yeah.
Once you have a flavorless bagel where you just have the sensation of chewing on something. You will never underestimate bread again.
Yeah, this is a thing that people from we live in the Northeast, and it's considered by a lot of areas in the country as a place where some of the best bread is made.
And New Jersey in particular has a big Jewish community where, again, I'm pushing the rye, but it's also just as a general rule, the state is diner central. And
Yeah.
diners have sandwiches.
Philadelphia all the way up to New York is
Yeah.
is considered like kind of like a horseshoe right there.
Have you ever had food from Katz Diner, by the way? Katz?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is delicious.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like not only are the fillings important in a sandwich, you know, what you put in it, the meats that you put in it, the cheeses that you put in it, but the bread itself, like even just the texture of it,
Yes.
needs to be exactly right. It's part of the reason why in Philadelphia, like, you know, the signature food is the cheesesteak.
Yeah.
What sets apart the the good, really good places versus, you know, the mediocre places is you know, the quality of meat is something that you can just acquire. Like you can acquire quality meat pretty easily. You just need to pay for it, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Bread is an art form. Like having the proper bread, you need to go to the right source for it. Because
Speaking of which, by the way, going back to bagels for a second, you have to find places that do this because everybody bakes their bagels.
yeah,
Try a boiled bagel.
I was just gonna say the boiled ones. Yeah,
Because that's a pain in the ass, which is why nobody does it.
yeah.
But
Except in New York, they do it in New York still.
yeah, but even then you gotta go find them.
Yeah.
But once you have it, you will know why they do it.
Yeah, it's completely different texture, and so the role that that cheesesteaks are on is so integral to the entire experience of eating the sandwich that like people like import water from the air from like the New York area, even in and also the Philadelphia area, like all the way down to like Florida and things like that, where there are people that used to live in this area, because like the bread bakeries are just not the same down there. It even bread baking. A lot of people don't realize this, but is also affected by the flora and fauna in the air, and like the humidity in the air. So like you might even have like the same ingredients when you're baking bread somewhere, but it won't turn out exactly the same. It's kind of like cheese, like
I was gonna say wine, like
yeah, when wine's like
where
that too.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't know how often you're gonna see a place like New Jersey bragging about its exquisite wine.
Well, yeah, but like it's all about the characterization of the pH and you know what the composition of the and also the climate of those areas.
I was gonna mention, yeah, there are certain things like, you know, Florida and California are famous for oranges. If you really wanted to try, you probably could force orange trees to grow in New Jersey, but you're not gonna want them.
They're not going to yield the same, and they're not. The growing season would be very short. That's something that's very overlooked. That's kind of why, you know, Philadelphians are and also New Yorkers are serious about their bagels and their pizza.
And that's another thing, by the way, that Jewish stereotype. Like Family Guy made fun of that, like the G.I. Jew action figure where the little thing he said was, "You call these bagels?" It's not.
But it's true.
It's not just because they're Jewish. It's because this is where the Jews live, like in the tri-state area,
Yeah.
and those people really like their bagels.
It's really it. I mean, people, you know, and it's the same elsewhere with other things. So it's not like those places don't have their things that they're known for.
Yeah.
I should say, but
Well, yeah, like I was thinking of barbecue.
Yeah,
Like I've mentioned this before when your friend Retro Gamer had come over.
Sure.
Where, like, you know, I love me some barbecue food, but if I ever dared go to like Kansas, Texas, Alabama,
Nashville,
and open my mouth, Yeah, I had some pretty good barbecue from New Jersey. They would fucking laugh me right out of that, like out of town. They'd be like, what, are you kidding me? You
New
don't even know what
York
barbecue
City.
is."
It's like that Pace salsa commercial. New York City.
Do you even know what real barbecue? Yeah, that's one thing I would love to do is go to like any of those places or Tennessee or Kentucky and have their barbecue. It's probably legendary.
Sure. Yeah, because like they're also like masters of their own style.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Yeah, it's not just I've tried one state, I've tried them all. That is absolutely not true.
No, they're unique. Barbecue is not a thing. Like it's kind of like Indian food's not a thing. Like
Yeah, the entire subcontinent of India is the same kind of food.
yeah, exactly. Indian food is not a thing. It is.
It's like a genre.
Yeah, exactly.
Like barbecue. Like I know what it means when you say barbecue, but yeah, everyone makes it different.
Well, it's the same as like when you delve into any culture, really. Like Italian food varies wildly once you go to like Sicily versus like northern Italy.
Oh yeah, well I mean even what you were saying a second ago, like we're not saying New York and we're not saying Pennsylvania, we're saying New York City and Philadelphia. It's like very specific.
Oh yeah, it's not even the same as Pittsburgh, which is on the other side of the state. Yeah,
like my favorite is Chinese food, and I don't mean American Chinese food. I mean Chinese food. Mm-hmm. But the country's so fucking big. Like, what
vast.
do you even mean? Yeah,
yeah. They even speak different languages in different areas of the country. Like
and kind of America too, depending on like which immigrants came to which areas.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that I think that like is criminally overlooked is like the quality of the bread is a gigantic like if you don't get that right, you can't have a legendary sandwich, even if you have like the best fillings.
Yeah, and to put it in perspective, if you have a good cheesesteak with terrible bread, you'll know.
Oh yeah, no, that's a thing that exists. It's kind of like getting like in this area, it's a convenience food, but like most people will tell you that it's like going to Subway is like kind of a criminal thing in this area. Like
it's like Domino's. I mean, like sometimes you're just in the mood for Domino's. But
yeah, exactly.
Like, I can like bike to 2 different local pizza places. Like, why would you go to? Like, it's stuff like that.
Yeah,
and Domino's is like it's okay, but like there's a reason it's as popular as it is. But like
it's like going to Taco Bell like down in like Houston. Is like, why are you doing that? Like,
yeah, like come on.
Like. I recognize that those things are their own thing.
Yeah, they're familiar and they're comfort food and they are good, but like, yeah, there's a certain pretentiousness about like, but my local place is 100 times better.
Yeah, and even like once you become a local, you kind of just get your own favorite. I mean, like like. In Philadelphia, the 2 famous cheesesteak places are Pat's and Geno's. Pat's and Geno's, and they're the ones that have been in the movies and have been featured on. Like,
I was just gonna say, even if you're not from where we live, there's a chance. Like they're not like McDonald's. Everybody in the world knows, but like you might have heard of them.
Yeah, and not only that, but they're also like open really late. So like the availability is it's also like in a portion of the town that's easy to get to like after the bars let out and that kind of thing. So people go to those places, and they also claim to be the originators of the cheesesteak. Whether that's actually true or not, I mean, like, come on.
It's probably not this level of bullshit, but it makes me think of like all of those places you've never heard of, some random diner on the side of the road with a sign that says "World Famous."
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, get out of here.
But like if you live in and around Philadelphia, like. You have probably like a local pizza place that's owned by a mom and pop that's your favorite, because like they just get a part of that particular thing right. Those are like the touristy locations that you go to and you show your your out of towner friends. You show them Pat's and Geno's, but you don't actually go there.
It's almost like get a photo in front of Pat's and Geno's. Like you could say you're
exactly
now.
Exactly, and I mean I even have a favorite touristy place, which is called Jim's, and that's on South Street. But like that place has like long lines as well. They're really well known for it. There are so many places to get a cheesesteak in Philadelphia that is excellent. That you really don't need to be pigeonholed to one of those popular places because they're all good. You got to remember they're all competing with each other too.
Yeah.
It's not like there are only 3 places in town that provide it, so there's like a big gulf.
Well, yeah. It's like New York City. Like every other place you see is a pizza place. Like
exactly.
You damn well better be good when you have that much competition, or you'll be gone in a week.
Exactly. I think we answered that pretty well, unless you wanted to add anything there, Lotus.
No, I'm probably good.
Okay. Well, that is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement will keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Wonderful. We'll catch everybody on Tuesday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.